I'm Brent. I'm the Program and Engagement Manager here at Beacon Hill Friends House, and we are a Quaker Center for Learning, and we are home to Beacon Hill Friends Meeting. I'm sure many of you have heard of Beacon Hill Friends Meeting, and we are also a residential community of about 22 people or so. And so tonight we have Jaimie Mudd. She'll be presenting Experiment with Light for Living Light in Uncertain Times. This will be an introduction to a Quaker spiritual practice that can be shared in a group or held in solitude. Based in our early Quaker way, this practice fosters a unique encounter with the light that nourishes our spiritual lives through clarity and compassion. I am now excited to introduce you to Jaimie Mudd, if she needs any introduction at all. She has been a devoted friend since 1992, nurturing a love for Quaker communities worldwide. We were at ESR at the same time, even though we weren't students at the same time. I met Jaimie at ESR. Jaimie holds a Master of Divinity degree from Earlham School of Religion and has led transformative retreats across the United States, supporting friends in spiritual deepening and revitalizing the life of meetings. Guided by a heartfelt concern for eco-spirituality, Jaimie's work emphasizes our interconnectedness with the earth, encouraging a spiritual approach to environmental care. Her retreats and teachings foster a deep sense of stewardship and reverence for the earth and inspire people to honor and protect the natural world as a sacred responsibility. Jaimie, it is all yours, my friend.
Thank you, Brent. And I'm happy to say I actually am meeting new friends for the first time. I know some of you, but not all of you. So I'm delighted to introduce myself as well as a member of PIMA Friends meeting in Tucson, Arizona. And I serve on our Faith and Practice Committee as well as Ministry and Council for Intermountain Yearly Meeting. And I have been traveling in the ministry for a long time, so I've actually just now come back to Tucson for after wandering around for the better part of 9 years. And the experiment with light has been part of this wandering. And I just want to share that the honorarium from tonight's session is actually going to be sent to Orange Grove Friends Meeting who suffer from the fires. 10 members of the Southern Arizona Quarter have lost their homes. And of course, it's a windy night even tonight. So holding in great tenderness and in this mini retreat that we're holding tonight, the Experiment with Light opportunity is a chance for us to allow ourselves to be held in the light and to see how the light wishes to examine us. This mini retreat is offered as an introduction to the practice. So Pat B, you'll see that this is dramatically modified given the time that we have. So it's an introduction and a mini practice, and a mini retreat is unique in its Quaker expression because of our own way of distilling our being in the light, standing still in the light, which is just central to this practice. So it is actually uniquely friendly. And yet, Rex Ambler, who really helped articulate this practice, who is a systematic theologian from the UK, was faculty at University of Birmingham, was actually started off as a Calvinist minister and a systematic theologian, and then became a Buddhist, and then began to work on focusing, if you know anything about the focusing practices, which is a form of mindfulness, and then became a Quaker. And it was actually a challenge from a student of his as he was teaching at the university who said, what was it about the Quakers that was so on fire that a little group of people so changed the world? And he said, I don't know. And she said, isn't that your job? So no. So it sent him on a massive search, and he literally looked through all of the written materials, the epistles, the statements, the recordings of what people have said, the Barclay's apology, all the things, and distilled this practice that I'll share with you tonight in very accessible steps that we can use. Not that the early friends of the 1600s practiced in this way. This is how they lived. And specifically, what's interesting to me is that as he did his research, he found that midweek, thank you, Brent, midweek gatherings like this transferred to newcomers to friends how it works. And so people shared their experience, their strength, their hope, and their way of connecting with the light. And so those were turbulent, challenging, concerning times. They were dramatic times. They were apocalyptic times. And here we are again. And what a beautiful opportunity to share this practice with you. My hope is actually that if you would like, there is a way to support the nurture of a local light group in your area, if you'd like. I'm all about these blended groups as well as online. Daniel, my husband, and I actually are the coordinators of the North American Light Network. So we are part of the Light Network out of the UK, and we represent the US in that way. We've actually been a bit of the Quaker Johnny Appleseed around the country, seeding new light groups and nurturing them as needed. And we've been a bit remiss from all of our adventures from communicating. So we're going to start a quarterly North American journal. So we really want to hear about your light groups, and we want people to find each other. There are actually two national light groups that are online available for you in the time zone, one out of Wisconsin, one that we run. And then, of course, the UK light group has one out of Swarthmore Hall as well. So you get to have an international experience. So if you're interested in that, I dropped my email address in the chat, and you can feel free to email me, and I'm happy to support you in your light adventures in any way that you see useful to you. I like to think of this light practice as really an expression of the very foundation of our Quaker way. And having this has been part of my practice for the better part of 10 years myself, and have engaged with it and experienced it, and experienced the life-changing potential. It literally is potentiating. It allows us to live in the light, to allow the light to work through us to others in our communities in a way that I have not experienced in any other practice. And I am actually very much involved in mindfulness meditation practices, contemplative Christian practices. I practice all the time, right? Practice makes better, right, Prince? Practice, practice, practice. This is unique and special. And yet you don't have to be a member of a Quaker meeting or attending a Quaker meeting to actually develop this practice. So it is highly accessible and engaging and life-changing. But in its essence, the experiment with light is about building a relationship with the light, God, the inward Christ, the universe. When we lead retreats, we often spend a chunk of time with friends naming, what does that mean to you? We have found that unless we find a way to connect it to something greater than ourselves, that is us and within us and beyond us, immanent and transcendent, then people are thinking, they're thinking. And thinking can only get us so far. We love thinking. Thinking is good. Critical thinking is my jam. But there has to be something that we are allowing, that we are co-creating together. And it's far beyond whatever anyone would call a religion. It is often beyond words. So when we share this practice with people, we explore all the different ways that you can express what it is that became clear to you or is rising in you through the practice of experiment with light. It helps us get to know ourselves. And if you remember one of my favorite quotes from Elizabeth Fry, if you remember how she said, "The light will rip you up. It will show us who we are. It will show us what is asked of us." It is radical honesty, radical candor is available through this kind of practice, which, if we allow that kind of humbling honesty, is actually a way of living peace. There is no way to peace. Peace is the way. And so this practice enables the sense of peace. I'm going to share this poem that really speaks to me. And it's actually a poem by David White called The Lark. But it captures the feeling that we'll experience tonight in our time together. So just allow yourselves to settle in. If you're comfortable, close your eyes, and I will recite these words and let it flow over you. Whoever listens in this silence as she listens will also stand opened, thoughtless, frightened by the joy she feels and the pathway in the field branching to 100 more no one has explored. What is called in her rises from the ground and is found in her body. What she is given is secret, even from her. The silence is the seed in her of everything she is, and falling through her body to the ground from which she comes, it finds a hidden place to grow and rises and flowers in old wild places where the dark-edged sickle cannot go. And so when we allow ourselves to live in the light and to dwell a while in this process, the experiment with light, we actually have ways of being that inform us, that we can turn to if we have a concern, if we have an opportunity. The experiment with light is not just for problems in life, it is for how do we know what we're called to. But it is not uncommon that we come to experiment with light because we have a concern. It could be these larger concerns we've just named this evening. It could also be a concern that you have with somebody in your life, that then there's a struggle happening and there's conflict, or there's something that is aching inside of you, but you can't quite get a hold of it. So this practice allows you to see. So it's not different really than Vipassana meditation in some regards, Murdad. It's very close in that regard, but yet the steps of it are quite different. So you'll see. And part of it is that we are allowing ourselves a form of silent expectancy that is also different than meeting for worship. This does not replace meeting for worship. And yet, if there are light practitioners in a meeting, there is an amplification, in my experience, of worship because of the quality of waiting in the light. This has particular steps, and I'm going to introduce you to these steps, and then we're going to have a mini retreat of experiment with light. Now, people who have orthodoxy about it with experiment with light are scandalized because it should take 90 minutes. Should take 90 minutes. We're going to take about 18, which also goes to show you that you can actually allow yourself to experiment with light at a personal level alone. Although Rex had found and recommends strongly that we do travel in community. The light work is actually powerful when done in community, in small group, and a group that meets regularly over time, because the light may give you a real whiz bang of information. Ah, okay. Murdad says, I've read this book. Okay, awesome. But you may have an epiphany. It's kind of epiphany season. You might have had an epiphany of a light moment, but the light can often come to us in small bits. And a light group allows you an unfolding of your own journey, and also for you to bear witness to the unfolding journey of others. And as the trickster, that is the light, perhaps someone else's light experiment actually touches you as they share it, because sharing is a part of a light group. So basically, in the earliest days, those who waited in silent expectation expectancy for guidance, were first shown their lives objectively, the good and the grief, warts and all. And in this way and in that place, they've experienced tremendous grace and mercy without shame. This is key. That the truth that we need to see about ourselves, me about myself, you about yourself, can often trigger shame, and then we get defensive and hide from it. And here, because the light is held in love, we swim in mercy as an endless sea, says Pat B. Thank you. That is gorgeous. And so from the earliest friends into this form of recapture, friends continue over days, weeks, and months, years, to be shown how to live life in coherence and concert with the light and with the gospel readings. Because again, part of what we do is our direct experience. What do we see in the text and what resonates in the community? So we're not just going off on our own opinions. Everybody's got a belly button and everybody's got an opinion. That can be a dangerous place from which to act. So this is a form of communal sharing of the light as well. So engaging in this new way is a way of allowing for transformation. And it's a meditation. So it's not prayer, which is a different form, a powerful form for our spiritual journeys, but this is a meditation, and it can free us from the things that are holding us back and allow us to move into a course of action that we can share with trusted others, and we can allow for resonance and clearness committees if needed, and further discernment with the mercy that Pat just mentioned, without shame or blame. Spirit shows us our true selves and perhaps helps us know what it is we are to do, whether it's a concern or whether it's an evolution. So I just was reading something. I have a Quaker Daily Reader. I was going to show you. It was written by Ms. Renfro. It's edited some years ago. But anyway, so there's a Robert Barclay meditation for today that said something about the fact that he was struggling with letting go of his fashionable clothing. If you've read Barclay's Apology, right? He's pretty much about, like, the Christian apologist. Quakers are okay, please trust us. But he was not sure because other friends were beginning to shed outward symbols of wealth, and he wasn't sure he could do that. And he both trusts in this meditation, he's trusting and loving the light to guide him because he's not yet ready to stop his fashionable attire. But he has these nudges that are coming, and he surrenders to the light. And this word surrender is key to our practice. We stand still in the light. We don't argue. We don't make excuses. We don't allow ourselves to let the thinking mind run off with us down rabbit holes or countless thoughts. Spirit will show us who we are. And so in this meditation, we stand still and the light will do its work. We trust the light. So I love the opportunity to share this practice with you and let you have a little tiny sense of it. So let me just go through the steps of this practice in brief. And again, I'm going to screen share. So those of you that are more comfortable seeing it can read it while I go through it with you as well. Everybody see that all right? It's kind of off center. We start with stilling our minds and relaxing our bodies and inviting light, inviting the presence to be with us. And there's some time that's allowed for this. So that's stilling and opening And we allow ourselves to let the concerns of our life emerge. What's going on is one of the questions, but we also don't answer the question. Okay, so you don't get your mind involved in it. Rather, you lift up that concern. And actually, in the very beginning, you're allowing all the different kinds of concerns to rise. And then allow clarity to show you the one concern for the experience that you're choosing for that moment. And so you focus on the one thing that has presented itself and trying to get a sense of the whole thing without getting caught in the thinking mind. Rather, sensing, having a little spaciousness so you can take the whole thing in. And we all know that if it's a conflict situation with somebody, we can often get caught up in our narratives about it or our justifications or all the things. And so we're invited to release those and just explore and see the one thing that's becoming clear that we are asked to pay attention to. And then we ask, why is it like that? And we wait. We wait in the light and we allow the light to show us what we are to see. So it's a dance. It is a participatory engagement with the light. And it can be very direct. For some people, they hear the words. For other people, they experience in images. Sometimes it's metaphorical, sometimes it's in colors. But in all the cases, we're waiting in the light and allowing ourselves to notice, why is it like that? And part of that is to explore, what is it inside of me that I need to see? And we surrender to the light, or submit to the light is often what you might hear in this meditation practice from some of the audio tapes that had been made from our UK friends. But it's an invitation to actually welcome what it is that has risen for you in this period of time in the meditation. And trust that we are being shown what we need to see or experience or hear in the amount that is appropriate for that moment at the time that is appropriate. And we say yes to it. We welcome that. And there's a felt experience often that can be described as peace that comes with this sense of allowing ourselves to say yes to the light. And when it's complete, when the meditation is complete, then we take some time to write down or draw what you've experienced. I find it to be like well-oiled spaghetti. If I don't write it down, I'm going to forget, especially if it's difficult material. And so we stop for a moment and each individual writes what they experienced. Following that is an invitation to share, and that is invitation only. It is not required, and it is to be shared in a relatively brief manner in the form of worship sharing, so that no one comments or directs anyone at the time of the sharing. It's received and honored as a shared sense of worship, like a pebble dropped in the center of a still pool. Some light groups then simply say good night or goodbye at the end of the session and go their separate ways without stopping to chat and come back at each other. The whole practice of significant confidentiality, double confidentiality, is really strongly advised. So it's very, very safe. I'm going to stop share now. That safety is actually critical for the entire journey, but it's one where we can be assured. For instance, you're in shared meeting together, and I've shared something with you that's really resonated for you and you want to say something about it, but you don't unless I have said, I welcome your perspective after we're done. Jim did you have your hand raised? I want to just check in real quick.
No, I just hit the wrong thing.
Oh,
So
okay.
no,
No worries. I want to honor your question. So we call this double confidentiality. So, because first of all, nothing shared in that time of sharing is shared outside that space. But importantly, we don't approach one another with our observations or good advice, because gosh, we're good with friendly advice, are we not? I was thinking about what you were saying. Let me tell you what I think about. No, no. We let the light do the work. We trust the light. Does that make sense, everyone? Okay, so as I said, this is being done in miniature. Daniel and I have lengthy conversations about whether or not this is orthodoxy. I don't do orthodoxy, so we're doing it short. But it really does, well done in a group, is closer into a total of an hour and 15 to hour and a half time, with lots of spaciousness between the steps of mind, open, wait, surrender, Mose. We like to call it Mose for short. But we're going to just do it in a little bit miniature here.